This podcast is built on the idea that good is all around us and we can be a part of it in big and small ways. I couldn't be more excited to share more about Lindsay Sitkoff and Matt Windsor, two incredibly kind, talented real estate agents in the DMV, DC, Maryland, and Virginia. If you listen to this podcast, chances are you believe in evolving and growing. And why not work with two people that believe just the same? Lindsay and Matt walk you through from the inkling of finding your next home to signing the final documents and then doing it all over again. They make the process seamless and, dare I say, fun. Please head to lindsayandmatt.com, LYNDSIANDMATT.com to learn more about this duo and head to the show notes to reach out. Mention my name, Katherine from the Your Good News podcast, sent you there. Hi, and welcome to the Your Good News podcast with me, your host, Katherine Getty. Each Thursday, I'll give you the scoop on the good news coming out of Washington and how you can get involved with this thing called democracy. Welcome back to another episode of the Your Good News podcast. Thank you for joining today's episode where I'm going to give you a timely update on the government funding situation, as well as some holiday traditions of DC. So first, what is happening in Washington? Well, when this episode comes out, just 2 days ago, lawmakers unveiled a $1.7 trillion year-end spending bill. So it would be from December 23rd, this Friday, and go all the way through the fiscal year, September 30th of next year. This bill is over 4,000 pages that members should theoretically read, digest, and vote in a matter of days. And we can discuss this timeline of when members get the information on another day, because that's a deep dive. But as of recording this on Wednesday morning, the Senate is expected to first take up the measure with the goal of passing the bill by Thursday. That requires all 100 senators to get on board. And we can all imagine that not all 100 want to get on board. So any senator at any point can hold up the deal by placing a hold on it, which is a procedural measure. And they can also do some other procedural things like asking the clerk to read all 4,000 pages. So it's going to be interesting when this comes out to see what maybe funny business has occurred. And I will include that in kind of my wrap up. But it is a lot to get through, but there is a lot of good, not only policy, but a lot of good funding measures in the bill. So even with this expedited process, there is also a narrow window for the House to clear the bill before Friday's deadline. I would guess, given that the Christmas holiday is on, Sunday morning, this will really expedite, I think that's a word, will expedite the process. I also think with the backdrop that the 118th Congress, so the Congress that will start in January of next year, January 3rd to be exact, for the next 2 years, is coming in so hot. So I think that we're going to get across the line. I think that the funding bill will get done because there's a lot of impetus to do that. So we'll see what happens. But, government funding, always interesting. Am I right? So let's transition to some of the holiday traditions in DC. I picked a few that I've either tangentially participated in, I'll explain more, or are some of my favorite things. So if you're ever in DC, you definitely need to check it out. So first is visiting the National Christmas Tree. This tradition is presented by the National Park Service and the National Park Foundation. It features musical performances. I'm pretty sure it's on TV. You can watch it. And the tree itself is on the ellipse of the President's Park. So it's kind of on that south lawn overlooking the Washington Monument. As someone who works near the White House, knowing when this lighting is going to occur, which is typically like right after Thanksgiving, is critical because the traffic is insane. And not to sound crotchety, but you just, you got to know what's happening. This tradition was first celebrated in 1923 by President Calvin Coolidge, and the National Christmas Tree Lighting. I found this online. I thought it was really sweet. It inspires people everywhere to pause, enjoy cherished traditions, and memories made with family and friends. Boy, is that a tagline. I think it really does kick off kind of a holiday season in DC, and I think not too far from where the National Christmas Tree is the National Menorah, which also takes place on the ellipse. Both the Christmas tree and the menorah, religious in nature, are beautiful moments to pause, reflect, and appreciate. And the menorah also falls in line with when Hanukkah begins. So that lighting falls in line with that. Another tradition in DC is skating at the Sculpture Garden. The Sculpture Garden is this outdoor, beautiful park in DC. It's on the National Mall, and it has a lot of cool sculptures, as the name would suggest. It overlooks the National Archives, and I remember 8 years ago or so when some friends were like, well, let's go skating. They do holiday skating up through like March of the following year. And I, as a Floridian, was like, I don't know what to do. So there was a lot of holding of the rails, but with overlooking the different sculptures, the lighting, how it looks over at the National Archives, which is where the Declaration of Independence and Constitution live. It's really breathtaking. It's really fun. It's a great way to get together, do something different. It's definitely chilly, but it's a can't miss in DC. Another tradition I love is the U.S. Botanical Gardens. This is a personal fave all year long. I think it's very calming. It's nestled on the bottom of the Capitol, kind of closer on the house side. It has just like really a magical kind of experience of like going into like nature in the middle of a city. But during the holidays, they kind of punch up the festive flair, and they include these trains with tracks made out of only plants, which is kind of mind-boggling to me. I'm like, how do they know which plants to use so the trains will actually go around? But anyways, it's really cool. If your kids like Polar Express, or you like Polar Express, or you just like plants, it's definitely the place to go. They also make DC buildings, and they holiday them with plants. So they make these little plant sculptures. So it's very cool. Definitely a not miss for me as well. I feel like everything I say is a not miss, but these are my faves. So duh. Something I haven't yet done, but I'm excited I'm going to be doing next week, is going to see the Washington Ballet perform the Nutcracker. I think I've shared on this podcast before, I dance from 4 to 18. And so anytime I can go see a ballet is really fun for me. What's really cool about how the Washington Ballet does it is they take the classic story and they set it in 1882 Georgetown with George Washington, King George, and other figures. It is all in period costumes. It has, what I can tell from online, really beautiful set design. But I am excited to go experience it next week. It runs from right after Thanksgiving to close to the New Year. So if you're ever in DC, check it out. While I may not be the next DC Chamber of Commerce, I wanted to share some of these traditions that I have experienced and some that I haven't, because whether you're celebrating, the holiday of Christmas or Hanukkah or Kwanzaa or anything else, or you're just hibernating over the next few weeks, excited for the new year, I send my best wishes to you and yours. I wish you a time to recharge and reflect on 2022 and prepare for our new year. This is going to be the last episode of 2022 from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much for sharing in the good news, for finding the good, because I know it can be really hard sometimes. But I hope that each time that you come to the Your Good News podcast, you learn something new, you're able to share it, you fill up your cup, because when we fill up our cup, aren't we just a little bit happier? If you haven't already, go ahead and hit subscribe where you stream podcasts every single week. Leave a review, share with someone you know, share with that family member over Christmas holiday dinner. Thank you so much for joining today's episode. I will be back at the beginning of the new year, early January. Thank you so much. Talk soon.